We want to welcome you to another episode of the podcast that I host, which is called Empowered Investing with Leading Ladies. The reason that I founded this or started this was because as I was in different places throughout the country, I realized that uh, there aren't as many groups for women to inspire us, to guide us on our investing journey. And I think the data shows that there will be $30 trillion that will exchange hands from the boomers to the next generation, with that bulk of that being um, transferred to women in terms of wealth. So the better job we can do to help each other learn the right tools, tips, tricks, etc., to look at investing, the better off we will be as a community of women. And today I have a powerhouse lady with us on the podcast, Monick Halm, who I met, I guess it's about 4 or 5 years ago now, in a real estate investment group. And we've just stayed in contact, not all the time, but we see each other. It sparks a new conversation. And I've also been a guest on her podcast. And so I really am excited to have Monick with us today. And I like to start by having her introduce herself, share more about who she is, her background, her family, her educational background, and how she got to where she is today.
Thank you so much, Arleen, for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I was thinking about, I think we actually met probably in 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's been a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're still in touch because there aren't enough of us. So I'm really grateful too that you are doing this. I was just at a multifamily conference a couple weeks ago, and there were probably about 600 people there. And I mean, we were, the women were outnumbered like 25 to 1. There's
Yeah.
so few women.
Yeah.
Um, and so what you are doing is so valuable. So thank you. Thank
Oh,
you
you're welcome. You're
for
welcome.
what you're doing. So to just to introduce myself, a little bit of background. Where
Yeah.
How about, what would you like to know? How I got into
Oh,
multifamily?
yeah. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What's your family like? Who are they? I like to know more about people individually first because it forms who we are. And
Yeah,
then we'll segue into how you got started investing in real estate.
sure. Well, I am a first generation American. My parents are from Haiti, and I grew up in the Washington D.C. area. Though interestingly, I spent the first 5 years of my life in Ivory Coast. So I was in Africa and then moved here. So I almost feel like I'm an immigrant, but technically I was born in the U.S.
Okay.
Um, and I so I grew up in DC. Grew up with these parents who they're super supportive. I have a really great, big, warm family. My parents always told me, Monique, you can be and do anything you want, but in parentheses it was like, as long as you're a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer. You know?
With a caveat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, because that was success. If, anything else was like, that's,
Yeah.
we don't want to do that, but you can be successful, so you're going to do one of those things. And so I was a dutiful daughter. I was a good student, and I wasn't as into the maths and sciences at the time. So I said, I guess I'll be a lawyer, and that's what happened. So then I ended up going to law school. I went to Columbia for law. I went into a big law firm, partnership track, one of the biggest law firms in the world. And I was doing all the right things. I had a 6-figure job and a fancy car, and I was in LA, beautiful, beautiful apartment overlooking the ocean. And I was miserable. I was so unhappy. Um, to give you a little sense, at one point, I ended up having to go to the ER because I was experiencing this excruciating abdominal pain. I remember it was a Tuesday morning, and the doctor told me that I'd have to stay in the hospital because I had a ruptured appendix. And then I
Wow.
would have at least 30 days afterwards at home to recover. And my first thought when he told me that was, oh, thank God I don't have to go to work for at least 30 days.
Wow.
And my next thought was, yeah, kind of what you did. Wow, that's bad. It's not
Yeah.
good because
Yeah.
I'd done all the right things. And so how could I be that miserable that I'd prefer to be in the hospital than with this life-threatening illness and at work? So that sent me on this journey to kind of figure out what else I could do and be, and real estate ended up being part of that. But it in addition and out and as well, because there's more to us than just the real
Mm.
estate piece. I ended up uh, going through a series of twists and turns, trying different things in the legal field. Right, I thought maybe it's just this firm, and a different firm will be better. So another big firm, then a smaller firm, and um, during this process, I ended up meeting my husband, my husband Peter, who who I work with now, and he'd been married before, so he had 2 kids. So I ended up having 2 step kids, and we had a baby together. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, Allie, our daughter, I was 5 months pregnant. I was working at a small law firm at that time, and still unhappy. Not quite as unhappy. Like I'd rather be in the hospital unhappy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, you could actually enjoy your work, but it was, it was better than that other job, but still
Yeah.
like not super great. But I was pregnant and probably wasn't going to go anywhere because I was the main breadwinner at the time. So I week after I told my boss I was expecting, he called me into the office. I was expecting a bonus. I've been working so hard, so many nights past midnight, and he sat me down and fired me.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, wow. It's like that's so opposite to what I expected. I was like, I
Sure.
wonder how much of a bonus I'm gonna get. It was like, no, you're getting 2 weeks severance, basically. Um, and uh, so that was shocking. And in hindsight, one of the best gifts I've ever gotten.
Mhm.
Wouldn't have asked for it. I never would have asked for it. But what it did was that when I came home, I was 5 months pregnant, and he literally like asked, he fired me the week my belly popped out. Like until then, I was just looking fat.
Right.
He fired. I was like, oh great. Now I was excited. I was like, oh, finally I look pregnant, not just fat.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh no, I look pregnant. How am I supposed to find another job? And I decided I'm not gonna look. I'm just going yet. I'm going to, you know,
Mhm.
wait out the rest of my pregnancy. Afterwards, I'm gonna look for a job.
Mhm.
And my daughter was born in late August of 2008.
Mhm.
Um, do you
Wow.
remember what happened? Like the
Great
fall of
financial crisis, right?
yes,
Yeah.
in a month of her birth, the economy was in free fall.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
a horrible time to be unemployed and looking for a job. Right? Like people were getting fired left, right, and center. And um, Peter, he had a graphic design business. It went down 90%. It was really tough.
Yeah.
What saved us, what ended up really saving us was real estate. So we'd had a couple duplexes. We ended up selling one. We started to flip houses. Houses were on sale, and um, and
Like
so
20 cents on the dollar or something
yeah,
like that.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
Hindsight being 2020, I wish I'd kept them and not flipped them, but I didn't know. The only thing I knew about real estate investment, because all I'd been taught about real estate growing up was, at one point, so this was what I was taught about success,
Mhm.
right? You become a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer.
Mhm.
You work until you are 65
Mhm.
or 70. You put a little bit of you put some aside in your 401k. And at 70, you're going to get the gold ring, you're going to get a pension, and then and then you're going to play golf until you die. Like that was, that's what I was at some point in there. They don't think about real estate. At some point, you buy a house.
Yeah.
Buy a house to live in. Like that's
Right.
it. That's all I'd known.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's like rental property. What's that? Like nobody I knew did that. You just owned a house. So that's what I went to do. I went to buy a house in LA, which is so expensive. And that's how I first got into real estate. I ended up buying a three units so that I could afford. I lived in one. My tenants offset the mortgage, so I could buy the other ones. But all I knew other than to buy a house was what I saw on HGTV. I used to love HGTV.
To this day, I'm an HGTV and yeah.
But what do you see? You see flip for flop or whatever. Like that was all
Mhm.
I knew. It was like if you're gonna do real estate, you're gonna flip.
Right.
So that's what I started to do. We were flipping houses. I was like, well, we've renovated our own homes before, and I guess we could do this. We could write a book on all the mistakes we made. But luckily it was such a forgiving climate for
Yeah.
making mistakes, because you were able to buy so cheap, the debt was so cheap. There were so many ways to, to make
Yeah.
things work.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of how we got into it, at least at first.
Yeah. And so you did that for how many years, would you say?
So we did that until 2015. And in 2015, houses were not quite as on sale. Hindsight being 2020, they were still on sale as opposed to where they are now. But at the
Yeah.
time, as opposed to right after the crash, they were considerably more, and it was a lot more competitive. And flipping is a job, right? It's not passive income. And I
Yeah.
wanted passive income, and I couldn't find. So we're like, okay, we're gonna get a fourplex in LA that cash flows, because fourplex was the biggest thing I could imagine at the time
Right.
buying.
Yeah.
And so we started to look, and it was impossible to cash flow because we'd be spending $2 million. Lucky if we break even, let
Yeah.
alone cash flow. And I was like, wait, this doesn't seem to make sense. To put all this money into a property that doesn't give you money back. And at that time, I ended up meeting Robert Helms of the Real Estate Guys.
Mhm.
So he was friends with a friend of mine that was in a mastermind, and I was telling my friend, I was kind of complaining to my friend Kyle about, yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm looking for this, the flipping's challenging. I'm looking for the fourplex. And he says, you should talk to my friend Robert. He's going to be in LA tomorrow. Why don't you come to dinner with us? I was like, sure. I was like, yeah. Okay. He's like, yeah, he's done hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate. He'll, like, okay, I'm sure I could learn something. So
Mhm.
I go and I share with him, and he says two things. He says, one, he goes, LA is a tough market. I always say, live where you want to live and that's where the numbers make sense. And I went, oh, that's,
Mhm.
you can do that. Right? I just assumed, nobody told me, but I assumed you had to invest where you could drive to your property, touch it, self-manage it. I was like,
Right.
oh, I don't have to invest here. It's super expensive, super tenant friendly, not like landlord hostile market. Like,
Right.
okay. So that literally opened up the world. And then he said, and you could buy this fourplex, but you're limited to your own capital and credit. He said, alternatively, you could bring a group of investors together and you could purchase a 100 or 200 unit apartment building. I was like, I think my brain exploded.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's the thing. I mean, I literally thought you had to be a billionaire to do that.
Mhm.
I had no idea.
As most people do when they hear about investing in apartments or multifamily, they think, I can't do that. I have to have $1 billion or $1 million, but it's not the
Yeah,
case. Yeah.
yeah. I literally thought a bill. Well, if the fourplex was going to cost me 2 million, I was like, 100 units? What? There's no way. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way in heck. And also, yeah, and then so this thought about, and then he started telling me about the benefits of, you know, going bigger and bringing others in, and it's like blown away. But everything in me, I had this full body, like, yes, yes, I want to do that thing. I was like, this thing. I was like, yes, yes, I want to do that. And there were a lot of reasons. I mean, one, it just, I like the win-win nature of it. I was like blown away by how you could go big and scale, but also we were self-employed. I mean, we were flipping. We had cash, like we could buy a lot of the house, and we were, because we didn't know about like we didn't know about hard money lending or anything. I thought we were just so ignorant, but we were buying these houses all cash because we could not get a loan. We didn't have a W-2.
Right.
And so our on paper with taxes, right? We didn't show much income.
Right.
We could buy, like, we had enough to buy cash, like, 600, 700 on a house, but we couldn't pay, couldn't get a loan. So doing the commercial, actually, it was easier for us to get a loan. Like, it was easier for us to get a loan on a $10 million apartment building than to get to be able to buy, get a loan on a house we could pay in cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because the cash flow, they can predict the cash flow to pay the loan and the value of the properties based on the income it generates. So you're right. It's much easier to convince someone to give you a loan on a $10 million cash flowing property than a house.
exactly, because they're basing it off of the money of the property, of the income of the property, more than the income of the the person on the loan. So you do need to have a certain amount of liquidity and liquidity and net worth, but it doesn't all have to be on you.
Yeah.
Right. So you can, yeah.
Yeah. So did you take Robert's masterclass, or
We
how
did.
did you start that journey?
So I remember that dinner was October 15, 2015. And in January of 2016, he was doing a Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar. And I went home that night. I told Peter, I was like, oh my God, there's this thing. It's called syndication. We can bring investors together. We can do 100 units, 200. It's like, oh my gosh, like we need to do this thing. And so we went and signed up for that event that night and got our tickets. I think it was in Phoenix. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go to Phoenix. We're gonna do this thing in January. And so January 2016, we show up at this event. It was like 120 people, maybe 8 women total, but a lot of guys.
Always ratio, right? Yeah.
A lot of guys, but we're there, and I'm listening, and so much of it was over my head. So we'd been doing flips, not knowing what the heck we were doing. So all of these like cap rates and LOI, and then and all these all these acronyms they're throwing out. It's like IRR. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I love this. All right, like I'm still here for it. I was like, I want in. I am doing this. And like, I will learn. So we joined Robert's, they had a syndication mentoring club. And also at that event, the person we met through, Brad Simrock, was there. And we decided, okay, yeah, we'll go to his apartment investing thing to learn about that. And then we ended up going to that. I think it was a couple months later, it was in March, and joined that as well. Invested a lot in our education. And but and
Mm.
all that I think paid off. So that year, January, we go to that first event. We start out the year with 2 doors. We end 2016 with 1,012.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it was like quantum leaping.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as you made that leap, there were things you learned. You've already talked about that. But one of the key things in buying, there's two big ones, right? Getting the loan, which is
Mhm.
sometimes easier,
Yeah.
and raising the money. So walk us through how you got comfortable with raising the money, how you established your network, et cetera, to be able to bring in these limited partners with you on your deals.
Yeah. Good question. So, I think there is something that's important to share. It's about identity. Because I think it's so important, like how we think of ourselves, because we will work in alignment with who we believe we are, like who we are as an identity level. Will always our actions will always um, work with that. So if at an identity level, I think what worked for me is I felt like a syndicator. I felt like an investor from the beginning. It just there was such a yes, it just was so aligned for me.
Mhm.
I think that really helped open doors because that I did not have any cognitive dissonance around that. It wasn't like, okay, well, once I get my first deal, then I'll do that. It's like I just knew that this is what I was meant to do and this was who I was going to be. I think that helped a lot. But one of the other things that was a huge game changer for me, because even though I like on the identity levels, like, yes, this is this thing I'm going to do. Inside, I was thinking, well, why is anyone going to give me that amount of money? Right? Like, why are you going to write
I
me?
feel good about me, but how do I get others to feel good about me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like why would they give me $50,000? Or are they gonna give me $100,000 or whatever it is? I was like, how am
Mhm.
I gonna ask them to give me money? And I learned this in a conference, and I think it was probably Russell Gray, and there was a kind of fundraising training that I did, and the main thing I got out of it, and this was such a huge shift, it's like, nobody's giving you money. It's not about you. It's like it's never, ever, 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 ever about you. And
Mhm.
that was the big shift. It's like, oh, they're not giving me money. They're they want to put their money to work for them,
Yeah.
to help them reach goals.
Mhm.
Whether that is they want to have this passive income so they can retire from their job, they want to uh, build a legacy for their kids, they want tax savings, they whatever it is that they want. It is about them. And when I was able to make that shift, it's like nobody is giving me anything for me. It's not about me. All right. They have to know, like, and trust me
Right.
to be a good steward of their money.
Yeah.
But it's not, they're not giving me the money just because they're like, oh, you have a nice smile. You
Yeah.
give you 100,000. It's
Yeah.
like, no, no. It's like, this is my money that I think, I trust that you're going to help it grow. But ultimately it's because they have needs and desires. And
Mhm.
once I was able to really just go, oh, I'm just being of service.
Yeah.
And that was the big shift. And there was another thing as well. And that's partly why I'm so focused on helping women
Mhm.
get into this, and people of color. So when I first found out, so I talked to, after that fateful dinner with Robert Helms, when I
Mhm.
learned about syndication, I was like, oh my God, this is, and I learned about what you get as a passive investor.
Mm-hmm.
And here I've been investing in LA, like we've been, flipping, or we had a few long-term rentals, which for much of our ownership at that time, we were happy we were only paying a couple hundred a month. Like, it's almost breaking even. Oh my gosh, we finally broken even, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm losing money every month. So I went from that self-managing, doing all the work, to going, wait, I can passively invest and get double-digit returns. Like, what?
Yeah.
This was the returns that I was getting better than, flipping, better than self-managing these properties. How come I didn't know about this?
Yeah.
I would have made some very different choices if I know as a passive, right? And so I was talking to a buddy of mine from law school, and I said, "Oh my gosh, there's this thing, syndication." And he says, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "This other buddy of mine, this other guy from law school. Yeah, he's been doing this for a few years. I've been investing with him for years. I've made a fortune." And I was like, I would have liked to have made a fortune. Somebody could have told a sister about this. Like, why didn't somebody tell me about this? How come you didn't hear about it? Why is it just you guys?
Yeah.
And I realized there's this whole opportunity. There's this whole ecosystem that exists, but you often need that pre-existing relationship.
Yeah.
Not just a pre-existing relationship, but a relationship where somebody will tell you about it.
Right.
And you get to know that this exists. There are these opportunities. You can get your money working for you. And so when I found that, when I found this, and also found that nobody had been talking to me about it, people who I considered friends didn't mention it to me. That's why I made a decision that I wanted women to know about this. I wanted more women in the room. There were so few of us in that room. The good thing is the women's bathroom lines were very short,
At their conferences,
conferences, you never have to wait. So that's a good thing. The guys' line is always very long. There's never a line in the women's room. So that's a good thing. But it's like, I was like, I'm willing to wait in line for more women here, because we're in between, getting fired, and getting into those few years. That was 2008, and then 2016. Actually became a coach, and I was actually an abundance coach for women. So I was already working with women around money and using and tapping into the divine feminine and abundance. And when I got to those conferences, and there was so few, it actually just came as this divine download. Right. Marry what you've been doing around abundance, personal development, the divine feminine with real estate. Bring women into this room, because I started to look around, and it's changed luckily since 2016. But in 2016, I started to search for groups of women. I was like, well, okay, I love learning this stuff, but there are too many dudes. That's where, I joined the mastermind with the real estate guy. There was 19 men and me. That's the only woman in that group. And I just thought, okay, let me find communities of women who are investing. And I remember going to a crew meeting, commercial real estate women in LA. There were maybe 40 women there. I was like, great. And everyone's going around and talking about what they're doing. And I was the only investor, the only one on an ownership side. Everyone else, there were agents and decorators and lenders, and they're all company, that were working in the industry, but nobody was owning. No, there were no owners. There was no investors. So I was like, this isn't what I wanted. This is not what I need. I need to be around women investors. Right. And that's when I created Real Estate Investor Goddesses. we recently reconnected at an event
Yeah.
for women in commercial real estate, but the vast majority of those women too, not owners.
No, they're W-2 jobs, done very well.
Yeah,
They've
no, it's amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. We need all
yeah,
of these people in the ecosystem.
yeah. Well,
But I
they've
want
risen
them
through
to
the ranks.
too. Yeah, because in commercial real estate, which large multifamily accounts as commercial, they're 2% of owners are women only.
Yeah.
98% of owners in commercial are men.
Yeah.
And that needs to change.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what you're doing through, the goddesses, and you're just talking and going to women's groups is incredible. And I feel the same way because, when I meet folks and they're female, they haven't been exposed to it. And it's like, what, because we don't golf and we're not on the golf course with the guys, we're not hearing about these things? Or what rooms do we need to be in to be able to influence and help each other grow? So kudos to you on that. And you just had an incredible virtual summit. Tell us about that, because I was very fortunate to be part of it and to listen to some of the incredible women and things they're doing, mind, body, spiritual, all of it, together. So tell us about that and how that evolved from Real Estate Goddesses.
Yeah. So it was the 7-figure lifestyle summit.
Mhm.
And I've been thinking a lot recently about what it means to have wealth, right? And to have a truly abundant lifestyle. I think that for so many people, they focus on just the money in the bank, right? And or the net worth, which is obviously it's important, right?
Right.
But there are so many very, very, very wealthy people that are miserable.
Mhm.
And I think that that's not the lifestyle people are going for. I like to I create this acronym, like wholly wealthy. So each letter stands for a piece of it. So the W stands for worth. So part of that is your net worth, right?
Right.
Having a net worth is part of who you are, but it's also self-worth. Like how do you feel about yourself? And that also, your self-worth will determine how much you allow yourself to receive as well.
Yeah.
Then there's the H, which is health.
Mhm.
If you don't, what did I hear? I heard that, a healthy person has 1,000 wishes and dreams. A sick person has one, right?
Yeah.
It's just, so without health, what do you have? The O
Right.
is your outlook.
Mhm.
How do you feel? When you open your eyes, how do you feel most of the day, most of the time? I mean, there's always like we all have all the feelings, but where do we live mostly emotionally? Is that in a happy, joyful place? The first L is love and relationships. So it's the relationships that we have with other people and our higher power. Um, and then the second L is laughter and fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Y is for you. Are you living your unique gifts and talents? Are you sharing and doing what you were born to do, what you were placed in this earth to do? Are you able to be in your zone of genius? Are you able to be unapologetically expressed? Are you able to just be you fully and completely? When you have all of that together, that is an incredible life.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is the whole thing. That's the lifestyle I think we want to get to, right? And part of that is the abundance, piece. A lot of it is the abundance piece. And I've learned that when all of those things are in alignment, the abundance comes much more easily. We don't have to hustle and grind to it. Like you can align into it and it shows up. In the same way that when I had this identity that was in alignment with what I wanted, all this started to show up with ease. And I necessarily have this huge list of people that would invest, but I was able to partner with people who did. And anything I was missing, I could partner with other people. But just all these opportunities showed up. The right people showed up. And so that summit was really about that.
Mm-hmm. Building partnerships, building relationships that help you grow as a whole person, not just one-dimensional, focused on success or focused on, whatever it is that the world thinks that you should focus on versus what you want to. Yeah, true. So what's next for you, Monick? Are you going to continue? Do you have a goal from the real estate side? Do you have a goal from the goddesses side or your 7-figure work? What's next for you?
That's a great question. So, so on the goddesses side, my mission, which came in actually at that first conference back in 2016, is to help 1 million women create financial freedom through real estate investing. Wow. And so that's what I've been slowly chipping away at these past few years. And my goal is to get even better scaling that, right? And and since it's evolved, I want to help them get to that financial freedom, and I want that journey to be really joyful and pleasurable and enjoyable. And I want the destination to feel that way, like that wholly wealthy, whole, like it's not just, so financial freedom I define as when your passive income equals or exceeds your expenses. And so, yeah, we can get there. But if you get there, but your health is crap, your relationships, you're in a toxic job, you're not doing what you love, then that's not where I want them to be either. Right. So so my goal is to really help 1 million women be wholly wealthy and financially free.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So are you focused on partnerships with others, doing deals yourself? How are you approaching your goal?
Yeah, everything real estate wise, my personal real estate. And because everything I do is pretty much just syndication. So it's how, because it kind of fits, right? You're just bringing others along on the journey with you. It's all partnerships. So what I discovered over the years is that my favorite thing is not being on the operation side.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a management company. So we did it purposely, not because we wanted more work, but because we want to safeguard our investors' money. And one way to do that is to have control over the operations. So, but it is a lot of work, which is why passive investing is so attractive to people, because they don't have to worry about the tenant calling them about that toilet that's stopped up, or ready to have Thanksgiving dinner and somebody's fridge went out at one of your rentals. So we have a team, though. We have a team of almost 200 people. So it gives us freedom that work can be spread out among others. So, but you're right.
You created a business that you own it. You don't have to be in you're not necessarily the one going out to deal with some issue in the middle of the night, but it is. I mean, I look for people like you to partner with, and it's like where can our investors invest with people that I feel really good about investing with, right? And I feel like, okay, just in the same way that people want they have these goals for this money that they have, right? And they want it to go and come back with friends.
Yeah.
Friends.
I agree.
So
times the number of friends that they
have a lot more friends. I was like more friends than they came in with. And and that's great. And there,
Yeah.
things can happen. Real life, there's been a lot of challenges in the multifamily world
Yeah.
in the past few years. But you want to go and invest it where it can minimize those risks, and kind of want to like
Okay.
minimize
So
the downside, have a
I
lot more
I
positive
agree.
upside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And I think one of the things that seems to me that people have to overcome is lack of knowledge and fear, right? So, um,
100%.
the myths, right? What's going to happen to your money? It's going to, go into black hole. No, it goes into a building with people that need a home over, a roof over their head. And so I think that is a key piece that I want people to know is that do not be afraid of it. Educate yourself so you understand how it works. And it's not that complicated. There are resources everywhere on understanding it. There are groups like your group that you can become a part of. So, Monick, as we wrap up, what's the biggest piece of advice you can offer women that are considering investing in real estate, commercial real estate? And then tell us how people can reach you. How can they find Monick and the real estate investor goddesses? How can we do those two things?
Okay. Well, I'm going to agree with you in terms of advice. Is it's really important to educate yourself so that you can overcome the fear, right? And take action. So you want education for effective action.
Like
So
that.
don't educate and get into analysis paralysis, but you get educated so you can take action. Because there's beautiful thing. It's called compounding. It will work for you or against you.
Right.
But it's like time plus compounding.
Mhm.
Want to make it work for you. So get into the game as soon as you can, but get educated and find people that like trust people like you, Arleen, that are just doing great. They're great operators that will like make sure that your money is well. It's like they're careful and wonderful steward of your money. um, so that's what I would say. And then how they can reach me, the best place is to go to my website, which is reigoddesses.com. And there you can find out about my social stuff is there, my podcast, the blog. So REI for real estate investing goddesses.com.
Fantastic. Well, what a pleasure it's been for me to, again, continue to catch up with you on all the wonderful things you're doing. Thank you for sharing your heart, your wisdom with the ladies out there who want the same things, right? We all want that holy life, right? With the wealth, the health, the outlook, the love and relationships, the laughter and fun. I thought that was a fantastic one to add so that we are truly the best version of ourselves. So thank you so much, Monick, for sharing your inspirational story and wisdom with our listeners, and look forward to staying connected on our journeys.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.